Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the webinar today. We will be talking about some of the recent announcements by Atlassian that will impact Atlassian server, cloud, and data center products. And we will talk about the strategy in terms of how you can plan for migration based on these announcements. My name is Himanshu Chetri, and I am the enterprise architect at Addteq. Today, along with me, we also have Ben King, who is the enterprise solution engineer at Atlassian, and we will go over this topic today. In the webinar, we'll start off by briefly introducing Addteq, and then we will touch upon the upcoming announcements by Atlassian and the changes that the announcements introduce. Next, we will hand it over to Ben King from Atlassian, who will cover the current state of Atlassian cloud and data center and the roadmap for some of the exciting changes. And then in the last part of the webinar, we will talk about how to prepare for these changes, and we'll provide you with some tips for migration. So briefly introducing Addteq. Addteq is an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, and we've been in business for more than 13 years, and we provide software as well as solutions for our clients who range from mid-sized organizations to enterprise. And we are one of the top Atlassian Platinum Solution Partners in the US and in APAC. We are headquartered out of Princeton, New Jersey, and we have multiple office locations both in the US, India, and Singapore. In terms of our core specialty services, we provide different DevOps consulting services centered around Atlassian and a wide range of SDLC and DevOps tools. Apart from Atlassian, we have also partnered with some other vendors in the DevOps space. Our partnership range from cloud service providers like AWS and DigitalOcean, as well as we partnered up with some leading DevOps tool vendors like GitLab, JFrog, Sumo Logic, Tricentis, amongst many others. Our customers span across a wide area of expertise and different industry verticals. Apart from providing specialty DevOps services, we also have a few products, and our products are centered around the Atlassian tools and are available through the Atlassian marketplace. Our flagship product is Excellent Table, which provides dynamic and collaborative spreadsheets for Atlassian Confluence. We also have some software that complements Atlassian's accessibility and helps you ensure compliance for accessibility, and that product is Unstoppable. We also provide managed hosting for all of your dev tools in our offering called Code Factory. So let's dive into some of the recent announcements by Atlassian. So if we look at the timeline, so on October 16th of this year, Atlassian made the announcement that on February 2nd, 2021, there will be no new server license sales. And there has also been some updates to the server license pricing. And the other main announcement is that Atlassian is going to end support for all server products in 2024. So next, I would like to invite Ben King from Atlassian to go over the state of Atlassian cloud and data center and some of the strategic announcements in the Atlassian roadmap. And let me make Ben the host. And Ben, you can take it from here.
Thanks so much. So hi, everyone. This is Ben King from Atlassian. I'm a solution engineer, and all that means is that my day job is to work with Atlassian's largest customers that are interested in, adapting our technology at their business, whether it's using data center or cloud, and scaling to whatever size they need. So what I'm here to talk about today is your options moving forward in light of the announcements that Himanshu just outlined. You have a few paths forward available to you, and I kind of want to cover the pros and cons of both, as well as what you could expect to see from them in the future. And hopefully that will help you to make a more educated decision about the future of your use of our tools. So just to illustrate a few examples of customers that are customers that are scaling on our platform. First, you have someone like IBM who chose the data center path, right? They chose to standardize on data center, and they are currently maintaining 99.9% uptime while adding 1,000 users to their instance per week. Which is pretty incredible at such a large scale. On the other hand, you have a customer like ARM who chose cloud, right? So they're standardizing on cloud and actually migrating 10,000 users away from their on-premise deployment into the cloud because they want to kind of get out of the business of managing their own infrastructure and focus that time on making chips, right? And it's not just IBM and ARM, right? We have a lot of customers around all sorts industries and sectors, things like government agencies that have 200,000 users on a single instance, or the biggest tech companies in the world that have 90K. Sorry, it's mail time at my house, so my dogs like to bark. Or an auto company with 200,000 users. Or a finance company moving to the cloud with 10,000 users. So as you can see, there's a lot of companies around the world choosing to standardize with Atlassian, and there are different options for doing so. So what are those two options? Your two options are cloud and data center, and I just want to take a few minutes to kind of put them side by side. So cloud is the Atlassian SaaS solution, our hosted offering. Cloud allows customers to benefit from our innovation, right? You focus on the thing that your business is setting out to do, and we'll focus on our software. And because you're investing in that, you get to benefit from our innovation. You also get to benefit from whatever security and compliance we add to our platform, and you don't have to worry about the security and compliance of your systems. In addition, it's faster to set up. You don't have to worry about infrastructure, and there's no maintenance, right? And then lastly, we do offer financially backed uptime SLAs, so you don't have to worry about the system going down, and you can give your users the service they expect. On the other hand, the data center offering is our enterprise self-managed, on-premise solution. In the light of the announcement about the end of sale for server, you can rest assured that data center will continue to be our enterprise on-premise deployment for the foreseeable future. There is no plan to de-invest or invest less in data center, and it will continue to be an on-premise deployment in the coming years. So you can host that on infrastructure of your choice. The data management and security is all up to you. You are responsible for the upgrades and the deployment, as well as the performance. So if you like the control and you need to be on premise, then data center might be the way to go. So I want to show a few kind of like architectural diagrams of scaled usage in each of these platforms. So I'm going to use the example of 100,000 users. I recognize that most people on the call probably don't have 100,000 users, and that's fine. This just kind of shows that that we can reach pretty massive scales if needed. So first, the data center example is pretty simple. You could have up to 100,000 or more users on one instance of Jira Data Center or Confluence Data Center, for example. In addition to that, you could have something like Crowd or a SAML-based identity provider, providing the user management piece. And then if you so choose, you could have Jira Align sitting on top, providing that strategic visibility for like top level stakeholders. What that actually looks like is, behind the scenes is this server architecture. So data center requires a load balancer, multiple application nodes, and a database and file system. This kind of just illustrates a few features of data center where you can separate out things like API traffic and maintenance from your normal user nodes. It also illustrates that you can have as many user nodes as you'd like, and that can facilitate scaling to a massive number of users. So that's a pretty simple example for data center. But if you were going to try to have such a massive usage in cloud, what would that look like? Well, the first thing that you need to understand is our cloud user limitations. So about a year ago in 2019, our cloud was limited to 5,000 users. Then we announced that 10,000 users would be available, and currently we have an early access program for up to 15,000 users. So that means that basically today you could have up to 15,000 users on any given cloud site. And then you can see our plans for the future to raise that to 20 and subsequently 35,000 in the coming years. So if you had 100,000 users, what would that look like in cloud? The first thing that you need to understand or know about is the option of our Cloud Enterprise product. Cloud Enterprise allows you to have one license that gives you as many sites as you'd like. It's kind of an all-you-can-eat buffet for a set number of users. So you'd buy a Cloud Enterprise license for 100,000 users, and then you could have as many sites as you'd like. So you could have 15,000 users in one instance, and then 15,000 users in as many instances as you'd like. Sometimes this makes a lot of sense for businesses that are siloed maybe, or they have like different business units. So something like marketing might be completely separate from something like hardware. And that would mean that it may make sense to separate out your usage onto multiple instances. And this kind of helps you in the, it helps you adapt to the user limitations of 15,000 users on one instance. Sitting on top of all of your instances, however many you have, we have the Atlassian Access product. The Atlassian Access, for anyone who isn't aware, is our single sign-on and security platform for all of your company's Atlassian cloud usage. So it kind of centralizes user management into one place, and that sits on top of as many instances as you might have. And then, of course, if you so choose, Jira Align can kind of sit on top of all of these instances as well and provide some roll-up, right? It kind of rolls up all of the data from these instances and puts them into one place in Jira Align. Now, in the future, right, you could, if you wanted to, once we raise our usage limit, combine all those users into one site, if that was what made the most sense for your business. So there are, one important thing to note about cloud versus data center is that about 4 years ago, we forked the code for our products. So 4 years ago, we just had one code base for Jira and one code base for Confluence. And it didn't matter if you were in on-prem or in the cloud, you had the same code behind the scenes. 4 years ago, we forked that. So we have two code bases now, one in cloud and one in data center. And what's important, or the reason that's important, is that the functionality is going to continue to become more and more different, right? There are different code bases getting different investments, different roadmaps. So when you invest in cloud or data center, you're actually investing in a roadmap as well, and different features. So a few of the features that you need to be aware of for cloud, in the case of Jira, for example, is things like native desktop apps that are not available for data center, or automation for Jira being built into Jira Cloud where it is not built into Jira Data Center. And things like next-gen projects is a perfect example of a feature that was, tailor-made for Jira Cloud that may actually never make it into Jira Data Center just because of the way that our engineering works, right? They're different platforms, so they can, receive completely different features. Confluence, on the other hand, has things like smart search in the cloud, or more like analytics built in, as more examples of how the Confluence Cloud is different from the Confluence Data Center. Excuse me one second. So, so just to put these two kind of side by side, we have cloud on one side and data center on the other. And I kind of wanted to put them side by side to show kind of like if you were buying the new iPhone and you wanted to compare the features side by side, what that would look like. So for cloud, you would have like a multi-site approach for the foreseeable future if your usage is greater than 15,000 users, right? And that has its pros and cons. You have limited collaboration when you're trying to go in between sites, but you have a lessened admin burden on each site. So that can actually be a benefit. Whereas on the data center side of things, you do already have unlimited scale on a single site today, but that results in increased admin and hardware costs as compared to cloud. You have control of your data and you get all of the administration in one single place. Like I said, it's important to understand that cloud is getting a greater share of Atlassian's R&D investment. It's kind of no secret that Atlassian is investing heavily in cloud, and you will see that in future investment and features coming down the road. And I'm going to show a little bit of our roadmap here in a little bit. You do have centralized user management on both platforms, leveraging SAML IDP or Crowd in the case of data center. You do have like end-to-end security with Atlassian Access, like I said, and you have the option of using Crowd on data center with the ability to use Jira Align for either option. And there's one other scenario I kind of wanted to put side by side, which is the hybrid approach. If a customer needs to have cloud and data center together. One example of this would be like during a phased migration. Okay, so moving from data center to cloud over a long period of time. You would have unlimited scale in that scenario because you have the ability to use data center. You have all the control of data center as well as the innovation in cloud. You would have limited collaboration in that scenario because our products aren't necessarily built to work together. They're more built to be centralized, but that could be okay if you were in a kind of a siloed business, like I mentioned earlier. Taking a phased approach to a migration from data center to cloud reduces risk tremendously. So that could be a reason in and of itself. And then you do have the ability to have unified user management if you were to use a SAML IDP. You can use the SAML IDP for data center and cloud. And there's always the ability to kind of roll everything up into Jira Align. So I just wanted to kind of also point out that when you invest in one of these platforms, you're also investing in our partnerships. And this takes a few forms. First of all, a partner like Addteq that brings tremendous value to customers via professional services, managed hosting, whatever the case may be. But you also benefit from things like our marketplace and the marketplace apps that our partners bring to customers. And then lastly, you benefit from our strategic partnerships with other vendors. So vendors like Slack or Amazon or Salesforce that we have partnered with to make our integrations in cloud better because we have that partnership, right? Like Slack, for example, is another SaaS vendor. We can partner with them. We can make good integrations because we are kind of speaking the same language, so to speak. But I just wanted to kind of point that out as another benefit of moving to the cloud if that's what you choose. So I'm just going to show a few slides of our kind of roadmap. These slides show not only our roadmap, our future investment areas. Those are marked with any blue numbers or blue timelines. But you also see kind of like the current state of things with other features that are already there. So key things to point out on our scale roadmap is obviously the user limitations that I spoke about earlier, but also things like API rate limiting coming in a few years. And then whereas on the data center side, right, stuff like Git agents coming to Bitbucket next half, whereas like REST API rate limiting is already available in data center. These are good slides to screenshot if anyone wants to whip that out now. Next up, in terms of security, so a few big things on the roadmap for cloud security. Not a whole lot here for data center because obviously security is something that you really control when you're using data center, with the exception of the access tokens coming at the end of 2020. But in cloud, we have like selective edge BYOK is a big request from customers that's coming in calendar year 2022. Sorry, all of the numbers here are in calendar year, just FYI. Other things like mobile device management coming early next year, and data loss prevention coming the year after that. So a few things kind of on our radar, as well as things that are already in production today, like residency, data residency for US and EU customers. Next up in compliance, so you can see all of the major compliances that the cloud has today there, GDPR, SOC 2, Type 2, et cetera. We are working on FedRAMP for both Jira Align and Jira and Confluence. That's coming kind of in the long term. These compliances are quite hard to get, as you might imagine. So those are kind of on a longer time frame. I think that's it for that slide. Next up in the user management space, like I said, we already have a SAML SSO integration for cloud that comes with our Atlassian Access product. But we're bringing out more ability to fine tune who is going to be included in that user management kind of policy. And that's coming out in the second quarter of next year. And that's something really important to understand. I encourage you, if you're interested in cloud, one of the best first steps that you can take is to go learn about Atlassian Access. Atlassian Access is a very important piece of the cloud kind of procedure, and it has some kind of tricky elements to it. So definitely a good thing to research. And then lastly, just a few features coming for governance and control. Things like custom domains is a big request, and that's going to come in 2022. And things like release tracks and sandbox are already available in our premium and enterprise versions. So just wanted to, I know I didn't cover all of the features on these roadmap slides. And of course, these roadmaps dates are subject to change. They're not set in stone, but hope that helps give you kind of an idea of the investments coming to both platforms. And like I said, when you pick a platform, you are picking a roadmap as well. So definitely something good to remember. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Himanshu Find my
Right. Yeah, thank you very much, Ben. I hope everyone else found Ben's presentation very informative. So next, we are going to continue and we will dive deeper into how to actually prepare for migration once you've decided between cloud and data center. And just as a recap, Ben provided a lot of great detail in terms of the roadmap for cloud and data center, including what features are currently available and what features are going to be available down the line. But currently, as it stands, if you have an instance with more than 10,000 users, if you can afford to wait for a few more months, as we heard from Ben, there is support for more users coming soon. But if you need to migrate pretty soon, then depending on your user tier, you may need to go for cloud. Um, or if you cannot afford to wait or you have some other requirements, then data center may be a better fit. But you should definitely consider cloud as your primary option because of the excellent ROI or return on investment that it provides, because it helps to really lower your total cost of ownership. You don't need to manage the underlying infrastructure when you're hosting on the cloud. You always get the up-to-date latest features on the cloud. The entire application lifecycle management responsibility gets removed for you when you're on the cloud. So you should definitely consider cloud as the primary option. But as we heard and as you may be aware, in terms of what's the best fit for your organization, you may have additional restrictions. So, for example, if you need HIPAA or FedRAMP as a must-have currently, then data center may be the option for you. And if you have any other kinds of specific customizations that you are not yet ready to port over to the cloud, then you may need to consider data center. However, the Atlassian Marketplace has an excellent number of and variety of apps that can really substitute for a lot of the custom integrations that you may have built in your server environment currently. So something to consider when you are trying to decide between cloud and data center. And I think the rest is going to be the extensive feature roadmap. That's probably going to really help you, weigh the pros and cons of migrating to cloud or data center. So next, let's talk about strategies for migrating to the cloud or migrating to data center. We'll start with cloud migration. And the first resource you should review is one from Atlassian. And Atlassian has a set of resources under the Atlassian Migration Program umbrella. And this provides a step-by-step migration guide to the cloud. This is an entire framework where it lays out the high-level series of steps for assessing your current instance, for planning the cloud migration, preparing it in terms of the people and the environments that you need to have in place for the migration. It also provides you high-level strategies for testing the migration and a way to think about how do you evaluate if the migration was successful, and then executing the migration and so on. And Atlassian also provides free tools in terms of in the form of a migration assistant for Jira and Confluence Cloud. And then as we saw in the roadmap, there is also some upcoming support coming up for Bitbucket Cloud. For Bitbucket, you can already migrate the Git repositories, but the Bitbucket Migration Assistant will also help you migrate some additional metadata like the pull requests and so on. So you should really go over these resources when you are evaluating the migration to Atlassian Cloud. Atlassian also recommends that if your instance has more than 1,000 users, you may benefit from getting in touch with Atlassian partners like Addteq to assist you with your migration. And Addteq is a Platinum Atlassian solution partner, and this gives us the expertise to help you if you need assistance for any of your migration needs. The other unique thing about Addteq is that we are also a marketplace app vendor. That means we also have expertise in terms of developing apps both for data center and for cloud. We can provide recommendations for what apps you should use. We can also help develop custom apps or integrations if that's what you need. And we have performed dozens of Atlassian Cloud implementations and migrations. We also offer a managed hosting environment called Code Factory. And in terms of cloud migration, this can be your staging or intermediate instance if you need to standardize your existing instance before you migrate to Atlassian Cloud. And then the other thing is beyond the Atlassian tools, our managed hosting offering Code Factory also supports a wide range of leading DevOps tools. And we can help integrate these DevOps tools with your tools on Atlassian Cloud. And this way we can provide this hybrid environment support for all of your critical tools. Just as an example, we recently helped migrate one of our customers from server to cloud. We migrated their Jira Software and Confluence instances from server to Atlassian Cloud. Whereas on our managed hosting environment, we currently host their Bitbucket instance as well as Bamboo. We also host their Docker container orchestration tool called Rancher. And the end state is that the tools on Atlassian Cloud that this customer hosts is tightly integrated with the rest of the DevOps tools hosted on Code Factory. So we are able to provide support for both the migration as well as hosting their other DevOps tools. So next, let's talk about data center migration. And similar to the Atlassian Cloud migration resources that Atlassian provides, they also have an excellent step-by-step migration guide for data center. And Addteq has helped a lot of different organizations both implement as well as migrate to data center, and we can certainly provide assistance. And we've done a lot of different implementations and migrations for Atlassian data center. We've dealt with both on-premise as well as cloud environments like AWS. And what's unique about Addteq's data center migration approach is that we have a set of automation that we built that enables a push button migration. And our goal is to minimize the downtime. A lot of the customers that we work with, Atlassian tools are mission critical and they can afford little to no downtime. In fact, that's one of the reasons and the benefits of moving to data center is to really minimize single points of failure and to minimize downtime. But the migration itself can lead to downtime if you don't have the proper planning and automation in place. And that's what we strive to provide. In terms of managed hosting, if you decide to go with data center and if you want to self-host in cloud environments like AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, the infrastructure costs can be on the expensive side. And in the case of Code Factory, we are able to provide a very cost-effective data center managed hosting offering. And we do that because we leverage DigitalOcean as our infrastructure provider. And this provides a great cost benefit in comparison to other cloud hosting environments. And we are able to pass on those cost savings to our customers. So our managed hosting environment for data center not only provides the infrastructure, but we also have SLA-driven support for hosting these tools with us. And as we talked about earlier, we support a wide range of DevOps tools. So we're able to integrate those with your data center tools in our managed hosting offering. We do understand that some organizations cannot go with managed hosting. They may have some restrictions where they may need to deploy the data center on infrastructure that they manage themselves or on their own cloud hosting environment like AWS. And in that case, we can still assist those organizations by providing the automation. We can provide the automation to manage the entire application lifecycle for deploying data center, migrating your data center, and maintaining data center. We've done multiple data center implementations, both across on-prem and AWS. Recently, we are seeing an increase in the number of customers who are migrating or deploying data center in AWS, and we've done a lot of these successfully. We've also helped one of our largest financial services sector customer deploy a 30,000 user instance of a data center. And our expertise also spans in terms of also providing custom app and integration support. And we can provide that expertise to our customers if they need it. So for cloud, we can help our customers migrate. We can also provide the same kind of assistance to our data center customers. And we can also offer a very competitively priced managed hosting environment. And we can not only develop solutions on top of Atlassian Cloud and Data Center, but we can also develop custom apps if that is required. And then we have this hybrid support where we can help integrate the tools spanning across Atlassian Cloud, Data Center, or the customer's own hosting environment. And for customers that need to host themselves, we can provide them our application lifecycle automation, which can automate the entire deployment, migration, and lifecycle management process for these tools. And I would also like to highlight that we currently are offering a free migration assessment. So if you are interested in migrating to Atlassian Cloud or Data Center, we can assess your existing instance and provide the high-level strategy and guidance in terms of how you can execute the migration successfully. We would like to thank you very much for joining the webinar today. We do have some time for Q&A, and I do see there are some questions already that have been provided by our viewers. So the first question is about HIPAA compliance. So the question is, what about HIPAA compliance with cloud and data center deployments? Which is better? So I think we saw in the presentation earlier from Ben that Atlassian Cloud does have compliance standards like HIPAA in the roadmap. Those are, I believe, 2022 or later. So if you need strict HIPAA compliance before that, then you may need to consider data center. But we do see that it is in the cloud roadmap. So both options are available depending on the timeline. So the second question is, for cloud products, Atlassian is not able to sign a business associate agreement. They recommend their server products for companies that need to comply to things like HIPAA. Do you know if the cloud products will be more compliant anytime soon? IC is on the long-term radar at Atlassian. So regarding compliance like HIPAA and FedRAMP, we saw the roadmap which covers that. We also reviewed the extensive list of compliance standards that are already available on Atlassian Cloud. But in terms of the business associate agreement, not sure if I can comment on that from my side. Ben, I'm not sure if you have anything to add to this question.
No, I don't think you'll see changes to that way of doing business that Atlassian has had in the past. However, those compliances will continue to be rolled out, and if a customer wants to leverage our on-premise deployment for perhaps a reason like compliance, a managed hosting solution like the one Imanshu told you about earlier would be a good option, right? Because then you don't have to host it yourself, and you get the benefit of having an on-prem deployment.
Exactly. That's a great point. Thanks, Ben. So we do have time for more questions if there are any. So let's give everyone a minute to see if there are any other questions. All right, so we have one more question so the question is, I have access to the underlying SQL data on server for external reports. Is that possible on cloud? So on the Atlassian cloud, you have access to the API. So you can use the REST API to build out different reports that you need. The other option is Atlassian Marketplace also has some reporting apps that you can utilize for building out these reports. So combination of the API as well as the Marketplace apps should hopefully give you similar, if not better, flexibility when building out custom reports. So we have another question. So the question is, we are using Confluence for knowledge base only. The Confluence cloud will overdose. In our scenario, the features are too much. Could you give a view for a Confluence cloud light version? I think as far as I know, I don't think that there is any plans for a Confluence cloud light version. And if you need it only for knowledge base, I mean, the one advantage is, if it's a public knowledge base, then you can probably go with a lower user tier. In fact, Atlassian also has a very generous free tier if you really need a few number of users that need access to the instance, and if the knowledge base itself is public and you don't need to be logged in. So perhaps you can still consider Confluence Cloud if those users don't need to log in for knowledge base access. And then the other thing maybe I'll add to that is there's also an app called Scroll Viewport. Trying to recall if it's available for Confluence Cloud or not, but Scroll Viewport also lets you simplify the user interface for your Confluence knowledge base, where the output it's not even going to look like Confluence for the end users. It's just going to look like a very accessible, usable theme for help desk knowledge base articles. So you should look into Scroll Viewport, and I'm just going to check real quick to see if it is available for Atlassian Cloud. Yes, it is available for Atlassian Cloud. So I would highly recommend checking out that app to see if that can be a good fit for the use case. Right. Any other questions? Right. Okay, so we have one more question. So the question is, are there cases where one service may move to cloud, example Bitbucket, but other tools remain on-premise, example Confluence and Jira? So I think I did talk about one example earlier where one of our customer, they migrated Jira software and Confluence to Atlassian Cloud, and they have Bitbucket in our managed hosting offering, which is currently in the server version. So now after these announcements, the customer can either migrate to data center and integrate that with Jira software and Confluence Cloud, or they can migrate to Bitbucket Cloud and then have that deeply integrated with the Jira software and Confluence. So there can be hybrid scenarios, but ideally, I think you probably want most of the tools to be in a similar environment um, for the best possible integration points. Yeah, thanks everyone for the questions so far. Some really good questions. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A section in Zoom. All right, I think looks like we may not have any other questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us in this webinar today. Please get in touch with us if you have any other questions that you can think of. I would also like to thank Ben from the Atlassian side for his great presentation. Yeah, have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.